Today we're going to be talking about the use of, can I say cannabinoids or just CBD?
So it's probably best to say CBDA.
So how CBDA can help with musculoskeletal problems as well as joint conditions, correct?
Correct.
All right, fantastic. Hi, welcome to the Regenerative Warrior and Medical Influencers Show. My name is Dr. Ross Carter. I'd like to welcome our special guest. His name is Dr. Philip Zinni III. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
How did you get involved in this area?
Sure. So my background is musculoskeletal medicine. Ever since my residency and then fellowship in sports medicine, it's always revolved around that,
Yes.
both invasive and non-invasive. And it was about December of 2017 when the state of Nevada followed federal guidelines for opioid prescriptions and said, hey, there's this massive overdose. And unfortunately, in Nevada, they were able to link it really to a rural area and a handful of providers. Mainly, everyone was being judiciously using them, but there was a couple over prescribers. So with that in mind, and with the regulations becoming more onerous, I thought to myself, I can either practice medicine the way I want to do it, or I could go through all these hoops and risk losing my license because the regulations were so onerous. So I said, I'm going to leave the opioid prescriptions to the pain management people and then look for alternatives. So that's how I, through research and through study, I found out the use of cannabinoids, specifically CBDA. And if you look at historically, cannabinoids as a general class have been used back to biblical times where they found the residue on altars. So it's been around for eons, and that could be maybe even another talk another time of how the use of it maybe changed over time, and because of that, we have seen a decrease in overall wellness. Anyway, I figured out I need to have something to offer my patients because the federal guidelines were if someone has pain, you tell them to take Tylenol, you take maybe an NSAID like naproxen or naproxen. I guess I'm not supposed to use trade names. I said Tylenol, acetaminophen. So anyway, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to say, take this over-the-counter stuff, and that's going to help your pain from someone that was taking maybe 4 or 6 Oxycontin a day. And then if that doesn't work, you're on an antidepressant, and then you have all the side effects of the antidepressants. And then you're supposed to say exercise while they're in pain, so that they're really going to be exercising. And then behavioral change, see a psychologist, psychiatrist, something like that, to help you get over this addiction that you just manifested because some big pharmaceutical company told a physician, hey, we want you to take this drug because I guess I should also say somewhat, and forgive me, I don't know your background, so I may pigeonhole myself. The AMA came out and said, there's this 5th kind of vital sign, and we're supposed to be taking the pain level of people. And with that 5th vital sign, everyone was recording all these pain that people are in, patients who are in as they're coming into our practice. And they're saying, we got to do something about it. It's a vital sign. You got to treat it. You got to do something with it. So that was another thing that kind of fueled the opioid because, people weren't getting better with their pain management with everything over the counter or the typical prescription NSAIDs. So that's where the narcotics came in handy. So all that being said, which really doesn't help much, you had to have something. So I started doing my research, and I think it was right around 2005 that started mounting more and more research, primarily in animal models, of the benefits of CBD in general, And then it goes all the way back to 1980 when Dr. Raphael McCollum, a professor out of the University of Jerusalem, I believe, I think it's called the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He's the father of CBD and specifically of CBDA, and found out that it was 1,000 times more potent than CBD. A is just the acidic or the raw form. So people would naturally think, okay, so if I just go chew on a hemp plant, or back in the 60s and 70s, it was hemp rope, that would solve everything, right? Well, not exactly, because it has to get into your system, so it has to be bioavailable. So that's where the conundrum was, is how do you get this CBDA bioavailable? And then it's off to the races, because the federal government said that as long as your product had less than 0.3% THC, then you could sell it on the open market, and you can find it literally anywhere, not just your local head shop, but you can find it literally anywhere. But still, the challenge was, how do you get that CBDA into a bioavailable format?
Hey, this is Dr. Ross Carter again. Listen, if you're a doctor or a medical professional or interested in adding exosomes to your practice, or if you're actually a potential patient who's interested in exosomes, I want you to listen. Now, the company that we're recommending, I have an agreement with. Basically, I refer them business. Now, I would rather, if you're getting exosomes, make sure to get it from an actual company and not a distributor. So I'm not, doing it that way. Basically, I'm just referring you to them. But if I do refer them to you, or you to them, basically what you'll get is, not only will you get product from them at the best price you can get, but you'll also get an additional bonus of free amniotic exosome products as well. So what that means is, if you order the placental exosomes, the MSC exosomes, you'll get, in addition for free, amniotic exosomes absolutely free. So if you're using amniotic exosomes, you're already paying for those, and so you get a vial of those for free with purchase of the MSC exosomes, and hopefully you see the difference in the value by now. If you're a patient and considering this, and you think, hey, I'd like to do this procedure, all you got to do is, you can contact me, and I'll send you places that could be close to you. So here's how to contact me. Just send me an email at drrosscarter@gmail.com. That's DRROSSCARTER@gmail.com. Or you can call or text me at 561-962-1231. That's 561-962-1231. So either email me or text me or call me. It's just best to email or text me, and I can get back with you with that information. So if you're considering this, let me be the reference point, and it helps to support the show. Obviously, I get a benefit if I refer you. So I want to be transparent about that. So please support the show, and email or text me, and I can get you connected and give you the best prices. Plus, a special is, you're going to get additional amniotic fluid exosomes for free. Can't beat that. So I hope you continue to enjoy the show. I'll let it continue. Here you go. Gotcha. All right. So tell me about that. How do you do that?
So there's a couple ways. One is, CBDA is an unstable form, so it's volatile. So that means that you either have to stabilize it in a liquid form, or you have to be able to aromatize it or vaporize it, and that makes it a lot more bioavailable. The problem is that when you inhale something at a high temperature, it seems to create more inflammatory changes with the lungs. And we saw a big fallout, I think it was about 2 years ago now. And the company Juul, Juul, was chastised, and they had lawsuits because they were creating all these inflammatory lung conditions in young kids, because it was cool to have an e-cigarette or E type of vaping device, and they're developing all these issues with pulmonary inflammatory conditions. So they took it off the market. Honestly, that's the best way to get it into your system. That's the most bioavailable, and it's the most uniform absorption. Okay, so now that's out of the picture because
Wait, you're saying all vaping is out?
um, theoretically it should be because
No.
of the high volatile temperature. You're creating all these extraordinary chemical compounds that can create inflammatory issues. Um,
I don't believe. I think there are still available those type of devices.
you're right. They are still available. However, in my own practice, I just had a guy test positive for COVID. And I said, you really should stop vaping because it's exacerbating your lungs.
Yeah.
So he stopped it. His respiratory symptoms from COVID got remarkably better. I also gave him some inhaled steroids that helped out tremendously too. But he said, I feel so much better. I don't know why. I said, well, I do know why. It's you're vaping. Yeah, so it's still available. It's still out there. However, it's probably not the best way to deliver this substance. So as a result, at least the company I'm affiliated with, we took that off of our production line because we didn't want to have that chance that there may be an inflammatory condition. So you're absolutely correct. And I painted a broad brush picture, and I shouldn't have. But for CBDA delivery, we choose not to deliver it that way.
And how is it delivered?
So now it's classically it's called a tincture, and you deliver it sublingually. The way that I use mine and the way that I tell my patients is for me, it's I kiss my wife goodbye, I drop it underneath my tongue, and then I've got a 20-minute drive to work, so it just sits there as long as I can without swallowing. So this way I get lymphatic absorption, and that's the second best bioavailable way because it avoids that first pass phenomenon through the GI system and through the liver.
Gotcha. So, so you're delivering it through these tinctures, which are drops, and you were saying that this is and it helps with musculoskeletal and joint pain, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Tell us about that.
So they found, and this is the part that's really exciting. At first, they thought that the endocannabinoid receptors resided primarily in the nervous system, and that's why it helped out with nervous disorders. And that's why the first drug came out, I think it's called Epidiolex, something like that,
Okay.
for a very specific seizure disorder in kids. And that's an FDA-approved prescription medication.
Okay.
And that's because they thought that these receptors were primarily just within the nervous system. But there was a study done by two researchers, I believe it was in Eastern Europe,
Yeah.
Ukraine or something like that. And they found out that these receptors were all over the body. And the real exciting part was that there were receptors within the joint. So the joint capsule lining,
Yeah.
the endochondral surface, and the subchondral bone. So with that in mind, and with the high prevalence of arthritis and the high prevalence of joint disease in general, it got me thinking that this is probably something good to use. A perfect case in point is my own wife. The reason why I'm home from work today is because she just had arthroscopic surgery this morning, and she'll kill me for telling her age, but she's 72, And the surgeon afterwards showed me pictures, and he said, "I've never seen a knee like this in someone as young as your wife." That the chondral surface were pretty much pristine. There were a few areas of fraying, and that was associated with the meniscus tear. And she had been going on with this for 2.5 years now. And then finally it was catching. And that's what prompted to say, okay, you got to do something about this. So he did a minimal debridement, but a large part of the inflammatory control was because of her using CBDA in both the oral form and a topical form that she would spread along the joint line. And because of the delivery system, it looks like it helped out with, again, those receptors that line the joint surface of the chondral surface and then along the capsular lining.
How were you able to deliver it there specifically?
Oh, so it's topical.
Oh, just topical. Okay.
Yeah. Now, here's the beautiful thing.
Injecting it, right?
Well, here's the beautiful thing. There was a study, it's an animal model, and what they did was they introduced a chemical irritant into the little mouse knee, and then they did a double arm study, placebo, and which is not really placebo, because when you think about all the research on prolotherapy and injecting just normal saline, that actually has a healing effect. But anyway, that was their arm, that was their placebo arm, normal saline. And then they actually injected CBD into the joint, not CBDA, but CBD. Right. And they found out with just injecting CBD, it was able to reverse the inflammatory changes. So I anticipate a time when there's going to be an injectable CBD component. It's just a matter of how can you make it in a sterile environment, and how can you make it more aqueous and more hydrophilic, as opposed to the lipophilic nature of the drug itself, of the CBD itself.
Yeah, I mean, I figured they'd figure that out by now, but okay.
Yeah, what we found out with the COVID vaccine is it takes a lot of money in order to bring something to market. Yeah. So companies aren't willing to risk the dollars for bringing something to market when there's already a flood, right? There's topicals, diclofenac is a topical NSAID. And then there's also the injectable steroids, which are dirt cheap. Mm-hmm. So why would they want to spend all the money in research development for something that may not work? Or more importantly, it's going to work, but as soon as they bring it to market, or hint that they're going to bring it to market, right, everyone else is going to do it, and it's going to be a knockoff, right?
Yeah. So who's going to take the first arrow?
Exactly. And no pharmaceutical company wants to be on the bleeding edge of this. No. Whereas, like you said, take the arrow. Yeah, that's perfect.
We got all the arrows.
Yeah.
And so now you use this in your practice now, correct?
I do. And also I have physician colleagues in pain management practices that are doing this, and in age management or functional medicine practices that are doing this. My practice is primarily primary care. And because of my passion for musculoskeletal medicine, things kind of gravitate towards me in the practice. But I have specific colleagues in pain management and in functional medicine that are using it too.
Gotcha. How to figure out a quality product? Because there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of products out on the market. How do you know if you're using something that's beneficial?
Sure. So first of all, it should be organic. Second of all, the whole process should be GMP, good manufacturing process.
And will you know that from the product?
So not only should you know that from the product, but the next thing I was going to say is that they should have a analysis so that this way you know what you're getting inside the bottle. And you should make sure that there are no impurities with it, because when you're growing something that's plant-based, there could be pesticides, herbicides, and you want to make sure that it's void of those things.
Right.
There could be things in the soil, parasites, bacteria, so you want to make sure that it's void of that too. So there should be some type of product analysis for that.
And can you get that? Can you get that? Well, tinctures you have to have a prescription for, correct?
No, you don't. As long as it is less than 0.3% THC, you don't need a prescription.
Are you using products that have more THC or just CBD only, CBDA?
It's primarily CBDA. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay, so you can get that without a prescription.
Exactly.
And you can do they sell it in nutrition stores, or where do you find this?
So for me, it's a specific website
Okay.
that they go to that leads you to the company that I'm buying my products from.
Great. All right. You want to tell us about that company?
Sure. It's called CTFO, Changing the Future Outcome. My specific website, luke92.myctfo.com. I don't know if I could bring up faith-based stuff, but I believe that I'm supposed to be healing.
Uh-huh.
So hence the name Luke 92. They can go there and they can purchase it off of that, and they can find on the front leading page CBDA specifically.
Got it. Very good. Well, that sounds very interesting. And have I missed anything? Have we covered everything?
Yeah, we have.
Excellent. Well, and if somebody wants to get in touch with you to ask you questions, how would they get in touch with you?
So my email is jockdoc@hotmail.com.
Perfect. And that's the best way to get in touch with you.
Yeah, it is. That's my personal email. I scan it every day. I scan my junk mail every day because sometimes things wind up in there.
Yes.
But if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to either email me, or they can go to that website, luke92.myctfo.com, for more information about that.
Well, Dr. Zinni, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate all the information. And for those of you who are looking for some good quality CBA,
thank you.
CBDA now they've added so many letters. It's going to be, it's like a formula. We now know how to get it. So thank you so much for your time. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carter. I appreciate your time, and especially for being a medical influencer. That's greatly beneficial.
Appreciate it. Thank you.